the bullshit starts to happen is with the fours and the twos. Like, this is where I started to fuck my shit up. Like, what you should know in the beginning is that up until I got to this size, my right ear was way harder for me to stretch than my left ear. Not so much that it was harder to physically do, but it just hurt a lot more because um, when I was like 15, it was my sophomore year of high school, my friend Corey, which, if you're watching this, you're a bastard, Corey. I love you. Fuck my ear. Anyways, um, my friend Corey comes to school one day and he's like, "Oh, give me $20 if you put this 4-gauge taper through your ear by the end of the day." And I was like, "Okay." This is before I thought stretching was gross when I was like 14, 15. I don't know why. Because for whatever reason, when I was younger, I didn't understand that you can go to whatever size you want. I thought if you stretched your ears, you're like, we're going to end up with a hole this freaking big in your face, and I don't know. I just was stupid. Like, I never thought about it, but now I'm obsessed with it. But anyways, I never ever intended to stretch at that point. I didn't know anything about it. I had never heard of a blowout. Like, obviously I knew I had hurt my ear and I knew it wasn't good for it to do that. But, you know, I was stupid. I was a kid. I was a stupid kid. So I was like, okay. And I spent all of first period, like 45, 50 minutes, shoving this 4-gauge taper through my ear. And by the end, like halfway through the period, it kind of got, I think it hurt so bad that it went numb and I couldn't feel it anymore. But I was just scared to push it the rest of the way through because I felt like my ear was gonna like rip off. But I did it anyway. Like you'd think I would have stopped. No, I kept going. But so I kept going, and finally I got it through, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And then Corey never gave me my $20 ever. That was like almost 4 years ago, and the asshole still hasn't paid me. But anyway, and then I ended up going home, and my dad was like, "Take that fucking golf tee out of your ear." Blah, blah, blah. So I had to take it out, and it closed up in like 2 weeks. But oh my god, that was such a bad decision. Going from like a normal piercing size from like an 18 gauge all the way to a 4 in like an hour, like less than an hour. So now this ear, like now that I'm past that size, I think it's still fucked up, but it's kind of like renewing itself in a way, I guess. It's like a new wound, wound, wound. Since it's being stretched bigger than it ever was before. But yeah, before this, it was way more painful to stretch this year than it was this year. And so, anyways, um, well, the reason is too because it was such a blunt, a big dramatic difference at one time that now it has a shit ton of like scar tissue in there and regular tissue stretches. Obviously, your skin will stretch, but scar tissue doesn't really stretch that well at all, and it will, but it's harder, and so that's what that was. Like, up until before this size, I was just stretching scar tissue, basically. And, well, according to what I've read about blowouts and shit. So, yeah, so that's that. That was the first time I ever totally fucked up my ear. And the second time was more recently. It was about a month ago. I fucked up this ear, so now both of my ears have been messed up. And what happened with this ear was I'd only been at twos for about 3 days, and I have had everything that I needed to get up. My goal size is a 00, which is 10 millimeters, but I've had everything that I need to get up to a 0 for like 3 months now. Just chilling in my room. And then once I get to that, all I'm gonna have to go get is some fucking 00 tunnels and my tape, and I'll be good. But so I have um, these just hanging out in my room, which you probably can't even really fucking tell what that is at all. But and then I have these that is the big reason why I'm so fucking impatient. Um, so I've only had this done for, well, both years. I'd only been at this size for about 3 days, and I was like, oh, I have these zero gauge tapers. Oops. That are fucking huge. And I was like, I mean, look at how big that is compared to my ear. Like, just look at it. It's fucking ginormous. I mean, it's not at all compared to really what you can stretch to. But I mean, to me, who this is my first time stretching, I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna push it through. What was I talking about? Zeros, yeah. So I'd only had my ears at a 2 for about 3 days. I was like, I'm gonna go try to push these zero gauge tapers through and see how far they go. So that I can judge how long it's gonna be until I can go up to that size. And first of all, once you get about to this size, you're supposed to really stop using tapers. Period. Because they do blow your ears out so easily. Because, like, you can see, hang on, let me find the 2 gauge. You can see how big of a freaking difference this is. Like, this is a 2 millimeter difference. It's pretty significant. And, yeah.